Good place now. You are listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess.
Welcome back live to Live Your True Life Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. Got an interesting show for you today. I like the word interesting. Interesting is always, well, it's just interesting. It's not fascinating. It's not riveting. But you know what? There's something about interesting that you go, I want to know a little bit more. I'm interested. Let me dig into that. So today's show, I want to talk about relationships. Wow, that's a interesting one. I never talk about relationships on this show. Are you in a relationship where you find yourself having to prove your value? Are you currently in a relationship where you find yourself having to prove your value on a constant basis? Trying to prove your value, trying to prove like who you are and what you're doing, trying to prove your truth, proving your innocence. Perhaps you found yourself in a relationship where you're constantly trying to prove that you're not lying. Maybe you find yourself in this relationship where you're trying to prove that the other person's wrong because they're constantly telling you that you're wrong, that you're lying, that you're not innocent, that you're not truthful, that you don't care. So how do we know? Because I know a lot of you say, well, you know what, Ashley, how do I know that I'm in this relationship? Because it can be hard, because many of us would really realize that we're using a lot of what I would consider defense mechanisms to probably offset, ignore, lie to ourselves that we're in something like this, because it's so hard to figure out how do we deal with it? How do we overcome it? And so today's show, I'm not only going to talk about the problems, I'm not going to only talk about how to know if you're in this type of relationship. I'm going to talk about the feelings that you feel when you're in this type of relationship. I'm going to talk about the cycle of this type of relationship. And then I'm going to talk about what's the point of being in these types of relationships, because I think this is all very important information, and it's fun and it's powerful, and it really helps us to understand our life situation, right? Okay. All good stuff. And I just think if we kind of go through some of this today, maybe this might shine light on your life. Maybe this might shine light into a friend of yours life. Maybe this might shine light into a situation that you're dealing with. Maybe this might shine light into something you didn't even think about, a friendship. It doesn't have to be a romantic relationship. This could be a friendship that you haven't realized, a friendship that has been challenging to you, a relationship that's been overwhelming to you. This might even be a family member that you're dealing with. It doesn't have to be a romantic relationship. We're not always talking about marriage or romantic relationships. When we talk about relationships, most of this applies to every single relationship you could possibly have. So how do we know that we're in this type of relationship? How do we honestly know? Well, the first thing is that we have a tendency of having arguments, right? We have a tendency of having arguments. There's a lot of arguments. The argumentation, though, which is interesting, the arguments don't ever get solved. They don't ever get solved. And that's always an interesting thing, because they don't ever get solved. I mean, it's like if you have arguments, that's one thing, but if they're never solved, that's a totally different bag, right? So it's like we constantly have these arguments. These arguments are circular in nature. They're the same arguments over and over again. Okay. Same arguments over and over again. There's nothing new to this. And these arguments tend to come up constantly. And each and every time their argument happens, there's no clarity, no change. It's like you bring up something, the argument spurs into this argument. Then it's no longer about the argument itself. It's about how you said it, or how you worded it, or it wasn't what you said, it's how you meant it. And it goes into this circular argument where somehow or not, even though there's a real issue and the other person is involved in this real issue, you're the one to blame. So you get blamed each and every time. And this gets really frustrating, right, after a while, because each time you get blamed and you start over again and you're trying to solve something, but each time in trying to solve it, you get blamed each and every time. And when you try to bring it up again about a situation, you get shot down. You basically get blamed for whatever is going on, and the situation doesn't get solved. The problem doesn't get solved. And on top of that, the other person doesn't ever apologize. There's no apologies. And there's a tendency of you apologizing to the other person to just get the conversation going again, or to get over the silent treatment, or at least have some sort of like calmness in the dynamic. And I've seen this happen a lot of times with folks. When I'm working with clients, they'll say, this happened and I tried to talk to her in a calm manner, and then she spun out of control, and the next thing you know, she's yelling and screaming and saying how horrible I am. And I find myself trying to apologize just to get her to calm down. Vice versa. It doesn't have to be a female. It could be a male. It's just, it's not about that. And I've seen it on both sides. And the other person will, fly off the handle, spin out of control, start saying some nasty things, and then there is no apologies. And it's interesting because it's almost like two people are arguing two different things, right? It's almost like two people are arguing something and neither one can see the other person's conversation. Neither one can understand what the other person is coming from. And it's interesting too. So if it's somebody that's not somebody that you're living with, it's interesting how you can go through this process and maybe you might say something like, hey, you never listen. You're a total narcissist. You never listen. Or, hey, this always goes this way. You don't take responsibility for your actions. And you stop contact for a couple of days. And all of a sudden they come back around, right? They come back around as if everything's fine. And they never bring up what happened 2 days ago. They never apologize. They never bring it up. It's as if it never happened. But see, that would be okay if it was 1 or 2 times. But what happens when it happens all the time? What happens when this type of behavior, these type of cycle patterns happen all the time? How do you deal with that? Nothing gets resolved. There's an argument. You get told how bad you are. You try to defend yourself. The person comes back 2 days later acting as if nothing happened. Nothing's been resolved. There has been no apology. So where are we at? Well, think about it. Where are you at? Where would you be at? Resentment? Anger? What about sadness? Depression? Feeling used? And I found that a lot of folks in these relationships, the problematic situation is we're in this pattern. We don't know how to get out of it. And it's not just one person in the pattern. It's both people playing this game. It's both people in these patterns going through it, doing what they're doing, right? It's both people. And that's what I find is very interesting. And, it's interesting because it's both people in a program, in their own programming, coming together, entering into a relationship, doubling the programming, interacting based on their programming, right? And so that's where the issue is. So when we have these feelings of resentment and anger and sadness and depression and feeling used, it's because what? The other person doesn't see our value. The other person doesn't understand what we're giving to the relationship. It seems as if the other person doesn't realize who we are. And it's interesting how we will fight and fight and fight to try to prove that to that other person. We'll go to any extreme to try to make that a reality. We'll go to any extreme to try to prove that reality. And I've found that in these relationships, a lot of us are overlooking the cycles, the patterns in the relationship. And a lot of us are overlooking it for multiple reasons. Do we see it? Some of us might not see it because we've been around it so much for so long. We don't see it. Some of us might not see it because we've dealt with a parent dynamic who had the same type of situation and we just married into it again. Some of us don't see it because we had it in the family dynamic and that was how it was, and then we're surrounded by it. Then we turn around and we marry it. Maybe our best friend, our person we consider our best friend, we deal with the same situation. So we might be saddled with this across the board. Many of us might even deal with a boss. It's the same situation. There's lots of different levels to this. It's interesting. When we are dealing with patterns in our life and programming, a lot of times we don't realize that it's all around. So the cycles of the relationships are very interesting. One of the things is that there's a lot of ups and there's a lot of downs. And it's interesting. People ask me, they say, hey, a lot of clients, a lot of folks who aren't clients that are listening to the show or on social media say, Ashley, tell me, what's a relationship supposed to be like? Really, they've been through so much traumatic relationships. I'm like, a relationship is not supposed to be hard. It's not going to be easy. It's not like it's going to be like a walk in the park, but a healthy relationship is not going to be hard. I think many of us are in these hard relationships that take so much work and so much mind share, and they break us down so much. It's really hard because we have all these other things going on in our life, right? We have all these other things going on in our life, and it's hard to keep steady when we're having to dedicate this much mind share to trying to figure out what's going on in the relationship, what's happening next, what do we have to deal with, how are we going to get over this, how is this going to work? Very, very frustrating. And I find that too, a lot of us don't realize that, a healthy relationship is not going to be perfect. There's going to be some ups and downs, but not every day, not every other day, not every other week. A lot of us are in these cycle patterns, and I want you to start looking at it. If this concept has already started to pique your interest, if this subject matter is already starting to pique your interest, I need you to start analyzing the cycle patterns of your relationships, not just one. Start looking at them, start analyzing them, start getting a little more aware. It's like I realize that some of us, especially when it's not sometimes when it's a friendship, we might be in denial of what's really happening, especially if we've known that person for a really long time. Right? So if we've known someone for a really long time, we might be in denial of what's really happening in the relationship. I've had situations where people have talked to me about things and it has literally blindsided me. I had no idea what was going on. Now, did I have no idea? Or was it the fact that for some reason I had decided to put the blanket over my head and I didn't really want to see it. I just wanted to go through the fact and just not really see the truth because I didn't want to see that truth. And so some of us might be taking the blanket off of our head. Some of us might be taking the blindfold off, washing our face, putting those eye drops in today, these truth drops, we might say, the drops of truth to start analyzing our relationships around us. Sometimes it's not always the prettiest thing to look at, but you know what? This will give us peace of mind. And I'm here to help you live a long and prosperous life. I'm here to help you do that. I'm here to help you eliminate stress and anxiety. And I'm here to help you understand better how to get that, how to preserve that, and how to live by that. Because the last thing we need in our life is a lot of anger, resentment, people that question our reality, people that question our value. And we have to really analyze that. And when we're around a lot of people like that, well, we probably have we probably get worried a lot. We probably have a lot of stress. We probably have anxiety. And we probably question ourselves. So stay tuned. We got a lot more coming up. Live Your True Life Perspectives with your host, me, Ashley Burgess, will be back in. Well, I'll be back this time in 2 shakes.
I hope you've enjoyed my history and lore tales here on Ashley's True Life Show.
Hey guys, everybody, thank you for tuning into the live feed. We are turning off the satellite uplink for the 4 minutes for our commercial feed on national radio. I have new stations that I will be talking about here next week. We have some new stations that we're on. Got some good stuff going on, so all that is great. So you don't really need to worry about the stations because you're watching on social media right now, so that's always good. I hope that this subject is connecting with y'all. Let me go on and look at the chat a little bit here, see what we got. Dario, thank you so much for tuning in. How are you doing? Hanaz, thank you so much for tuning in. Hola! I love that. Car, good to see you. Hi, how are you doing? Jacqueline, I'm glad I'm here on an overcast Saturday. That's good. We're here to take the overcast out of that Saturday for you. Jody, great to have you here live. Good to see you. Oren, great to see you. How are you doing? Sang, how are you doing? Thank you so much. Kara, thank you so much. On point as usual. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I always love your comments and viewpoint for sure. Chris, great to see you. Hey, Ashley, I can totally talk to this. Hey, I get it. You're on the same page. We're on the same wave. I'm glad you tuned in. It's always good to see. It's always good to see you. I think this is an important topic. I really think that we have a lot to talk about because, life is hard enough, right? Life is hard enough sometimes. It doesn't have to be that hard. But, when we have relationships like this in our life, it's pretty hard, right? Mark, great to see you. Have a great weekend, love. Just happy I have a beautiful marriage. Thank you for helping others. Hey, glad you are doing great. And that's awesome. Some people do have great marriages, and that's awesome. That's perfect. Some of us have great relationships. That's awesome. But what I've realized is that we can have some great relationships, some healthy relationships, and some might not be, so we have to just look at that. And I'm glad that I can help. It's also about just understanding who we are, and understanding where we're at. So Mark, thank you so much for tuning in. I do appreciate you, catching the show. I was in this exact situation with somebody. It wasn't a relationship though. And it's so true. They did not see my value. And, it's interesting that you bring that up. See how it is? It's like they didn't see your value and there was nothing you could do to show them your value. There was nothing you could do to get them to realize your value, right? No matter what you did, no matter how many things you did, no matter how many acts of kindness you did, no matter what you did out of the goodness of your heart, couldn't see it. Jacqueline, thank you so much for sharing this on your page. I appreciate that. I appreciate everybody. Thank you for sharing. If you can share, that would be awesome. We'll get the word out to folks, like-minded folks, because I'm sure if they're on your Facebook or social media, they are like-minded as you. Sunshine Days, excellent topic. I lived this. I smartened up and got out. Yes, good work. Good work. And that's good. You're successful. You made it through it. I'm proud of you. I'm glad you're here on the live feed. Richard, thank you so much for tuning in. Glad you're here. Thank you for tuning in. Maria, glad to see you. Good morning, Ashley. Great to see you, Maria. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are going to go back onto the satellite feed here in just a second. I think we got about 30 seconds. So we got 30 seconds here. So we're going to tune back in. Keep tuning in. We got a 5-minute segment here on the radio. And then I am going to take off the commercials again before our next segment. So here we go. I'll go on and turn back the satellite. Anybody have any comments? Just put them in the comment section and I'll go through them when we go back out of break.
.com and fill out a contact request and we'll get right back to you.
Get in here. You're listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess.
Welcome back live to Live Your True Life Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. Are you in a relationship where you find yourself proving your value? Are you trying to prove your innocence? Are you trying to prove that you are not lying, that you are truthful, that you are a good person? Oh, the pain and agony of trying to prove your value to someone who doesn't see it. And it's always an interesting concept because we feel that if we just keep doing this, if I just keep loving them, if I just keep taking care of them, if I keep doing all these things for them, they're going to see it. They're going to come around and all the dysfunction in their past is going to melt away and they're going to realize that I truly am this king or queen and everything's going to change. And I know that some of you go, yeah, that's where I was at one point, but you know what? I've been holding on. Thank God I wasn't holding my breath. Yeah, I'm glad you weren't holding your breath either. It would be a bad situation. Because what's interesting is that we do that, but it's a perfect storm for our programming. It's a perfect storm. This person's been through pain and sadness in their life. And we want to be the caretaker and the caregiver, so we give and give and give till it hurts. I remember I was watching something, and I can't remember what it was. It was when I was a little kid. It was a movie, and if I knew the name of the movie, I'll have to research this. But I remember that it was like an evangelist, and it was like, give till it hurts, because only God knows how much money you make. I was a little kid. I was like, that's just so wrong. Not that all evangelists are bad. I'm not saying that. Let's not go there. But I just thought that was pretty funny. I was like, wow, that's pretty bad. I think I was 8 years old, and I was like, what does this mean? But the thing is that we give till it hurts. And you know why it hurts so bad is because people don't see the value. It wouldn't hurt bad if somebody realized what you were doing and goes, hey, thanks. I really appreciate you helping me out. Or, hey, thanks for putting me first. Or thanks for doing this for me. You'd be like, wow, cool, great. And see, the problem is that in these relationships, occasionally you get little crumbs like that, right? So let's get into the real deal. It's not all bad. Because if it was all bad, over time, you'd be like, this just sucks. I'm out of here. I mean, if the food's, you're not going to keep going to the restaurant if you get sick every single time on food poisoning. No, the problem with that is that the one time, there's glimpses, right? You go to that restaurant and 4 out of 5 times you get sick, but that one time it's the best food you've ever had. And you're like, man, this is like a Michelin star restaurant. And then the next time you get sick, it's kind of the same deal. It really is. So what is it? What do we call that? Breadcrumbing. What do we call that? Breadcrumbing, right? We get these little crumbs. We go, oh my God, he loves me. He loves me. Because for one moment in lucidity, you are the best person in the world. You are the most amazing husband. You are the most amazing wife. You are the best friend I've ever had. You are my best friend. You are the only one that I can trust for obvious reasons. But then in the next day, they're questioning you. They're questioning your validity. They're questioning why you did what you did. I thought I was your best friend. Or I thought I was the best person in the world. Or I thought I was the best woman in your life. Or I was the best man in your life, right? Come on. See, but these are the things that keep us going, right? Because we see these glimpses and we go, oh my gosh, they see my value. But do they? And see, the cycle pattern of the relationship, the ups and downs, the arguments do not get resolved. The other person doesn't see our side. The other person questions our allegiance to them. Questions our allegiance for real. And that's the biggest challenge, right? Is when they question our allegiance, because it makes you feel sad. Because it's like, wow, well, can you not see who I am? Can you not see my value? Can you not see that I'm trying to show you and prove to you how much I care? And it's like you're trying to prove that allegiance, and no matter what you do, it doesn't change anything. So when we come back from break, we're going to be talking about what's the point of having these types of relationships. What are we supposed to learn? What are we supposed to get out of it? How are we supposed to act? What do we need to do? What do we learn from, and how do we safeguard ourselves? So stay tuned. Live your true life perspectives with your host, me, Ashley Burgess, will be back in. I'll be back this time. 2 shakes.
I hope you've enjoyed my history.
Okay, we're going to turn off the commercials for a bit. Okay, okie dokie. We got Buddy laying on the couch. We got George here. Want to say hi? I think they can. You can see his hand. Here, do your hand again. Wave. See, there's George's hand on the right side. Okie dokie. It's so funny. I was using the mouse, and I didn't realize that y'all can't see it because it's not a PowerPoint presentation. It's something like me drawing a circle around your hand, and there's no PowerPoint here. So I was doing that for my own fun and excitement. Anyway, that's pretty bad. But okay, so here we are on Saturday. Saturday is a crazy day because we have a lot of work to do today. 6 days a week. 6 days a week. So here we are, and we are right after the show. I have clients, so we won't be able to stay late today. Got to stay on time for folks, right? Got to stay on time. Jason, great to have you here live. Hashtag recovery hour. Love that. I love that. That's awesome. I do like that. That's good. Recovery hour. I like that. It hurts when they don't see it. Makes me feel like a loser. Yep. See, it hurts us at the core. It hurts us at the core of our being, our self-esteem, worth, right? And that's the key. Susie, I feel like I'm from a different planet around these types of people. You know what? I agree. And maybe we are. Maybe we are. Like I was kidding around. It's almost like two people, like one person speaking German and one person speaking Japanese, and we're trying to have a conversation. It does feel like two people from two different planets. So it's like, we come from this upbringing, this planetary upbringing, and one person comes, it feels like it because it almost feels like it's two ships in the night trying to make this work. But it's interesting how we feel this way, but the other person feels probably similar. But we feel as though they're living in an alternative universe, and that's a whole nother story. But I think I'm kind of getting at that a little bit. Good to have you here, Susie. Mystique, hi everybody. Great to have you here. Glad that you tuned in. Jason, sometimes I wonder if it's worth it to allow someone to get close to me. It's then that I feel most vulnerable. I understand. Some of us, it's like you get scared. If you've been taken advantage of or hurt, it gets scary. And I mean that's what's happening. It gets scary. It's like, should I let them in? And that's kind of a key, right? But we have to be able to overcome that. We have to be able to not be scared. We have to be able to see that value. And we can work through this because we can equip ourselves with security and we can equip ourselves with solidarity and be able to know very early instead of going down this road and finding out years later what we're dealing with. We don't want to keep wasting our time. And that's what I'm helping folks with. That's what I want to help you with is let's learn from our situation. Let's get through it. Let's get the equipment we need. Let's let go of the luggage baggage. Let's change the programming. And then let's connect with people that we can connect with that connects with us. Carmen, great to have you. Perfect. Glad that this is for you. I'm glad that you tuned in. That means a lot to me. Maria, great to see you. Glad to see you here. Caleb. Sorry, I'm Caleb. My God. Ashley, please. Caleb. Yeah, I feel like sometimes I'm just like, whoa. Caleb was in a situation with a gal with bipolar. The more I gave to her, the more she pulled away to the point of blocking me on everything. Yes, I get it. Yeah, the more you gave to her, the more she pulled away, right? The more you gave, the more you gave, the more you gave. That's it. That's what happens. And it's interesting how we keep giving more and more. We keep getting less from them, right, Caleb? That's the problem. And thank you so much for understanding. CV, the hardest point is figuring out if it's just a miscommunication problem or deliberately making a person feel that way. I think it's both. I think some of it's both, to be honest with you. I think some of it's both. And I think that's something that we have to look at. I think some of it is definitely both. I think we all know a little bit subconsciously about what's going on, right? Sometimes we know a little bit consciously, and then there is miscommunication. But at what point does the miscommunication continue and it's not going to let up? Adriana, great to see you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Glad to have you here. I'm glad to have y'all here. Caleb, great to have you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Barry, great to see you. Thanks for tuning in. I'm about to turn back on the satellite feed.
Now, here's Ashley.
Welcome back live to Live Your True Life Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. Glad to have you back here. Glad to have you back today. We're having a great show today. We're talking about the concept of being in a relationship where you find yourself proving your value, proving your innocence, and trying to prove yourself day after day with very, very little, if no success. Yeah. Relationships aren't supposed to be that. They're just not, right? So it's like they're not supposed to be that hard. They're supposed to be reasonably. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be easy peasy. Everything's great. Oh, it's going to be a bed of roses. It's not that way. But yet, in most relationships, healthy relationships, you probably have the 80-20 rule, right? 80% pretty decent times, 20% probably not. But see, the problem is in these types of relationships, it's the other way around. We get the breadcrumbs and we get a little bit of the breadcrumbs here and there that keeps us in there, right? It keeps us going. And the breadcrumbs are served right at the breaking point, like right before the breaking point again. We get a little breadcrumb and we're like, oh, okay, well, this is why I do everything I do. But we have to actually quantify the breadcrumb. What is in this breadcrumb? What is it saying to me? Am I going down the same programming as I have for a long time? And I want you to think about this. One of the points of this relationship is to eventually awaken us to the patterns in our life, beginning from our childhood. Oftentimes, too, we don't realize that the person that we're in this relationship with doesn't have to be a romantic relationship, or a marriage. It could be a great friend. It could be a friend. It could be a romantic relationship. But we have to realize that the person that's in the relationship represents all these types of people who don't see our value or haven't seen our value throughout our life. These same people fight you on everything you do and questioning all the reasons you're doing it. Okay, and this is what I want you to think about too. Realizing that this person represents all these types of people throughout the past in your life who don't see your value, haven't seen your value, who fight you on everything you do, questioning all the reasons you were doing it, and finding fault every step of the way in everything you do. And it's interesting because I don't need somebody like that around me. And I know that some of us go, gosh, Ashley, I agree with you. But some of these people, this could be a family member. This could be a current spouse. And we've gotten there to a point, we've allowed things to get so far out of hand that we don't know how to get back. And I know that some of you are like, how do I get back? How do I take the power back? How do I get this back? How do I change the dynamic? How do I begin to live my life in a way that I am happy, that I feel at least at peace? Actually, I'm not looking for stellar happiness. I just want some peace in my life. Okay. So how do I do that? How do I do that? How do I find peace? Because a lot of people stay in these relationships for a long time in pain and suffering until they realize they have done nothing wrong. And let me rephrase that again, or phrase it again, or say it again. A lot of people stay in these relationships and endure pain and suffering until they realize that they've done nothing wrong to this. It's just programming from the past. I've realized also that most of us don't stand up for ourselves because we don't know how to, and we don't have any boundaries. Because we've also been taught, right, that when we do stand up or try to stand up, we get beaten back down, right? So we try to stand up and then someone kicks us down to size, mentally or emotionally. I hope not. I mean, I don't agree with mental or emotional abuse. Definitely not physical abuse, none of these types of abuses. But, manipulation and gaslighting is pretty much abuse, right? It is abuse. Silent treatment is abuse as well. Some of you will argue with me on that, and some of you won't. And I feel like all these little techniques are used to try to ramrod us into doing whatever it is. And then all of a sudden, when we get up to that level of saying, I've had enough, here's a breadcrumb, here you go, be quiet, be happy. And then what happens? We're used to that, right? Because mom and dad or somebody else did that, right? In our life, we dealt with that. Because remember when we were a kid, it wasn't like at 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10. It's not like you could leave the house and go rent your own apartment because you can't handle them anymore. You weren't like, hey guys, I'm leaving. Let me get some money from you real quick. I'm going to go rent an apartment down the street because I can't handle this dysfunction anymore. Yeah, I'll take my backpack and I'll walk since I can't drive yet. I don't have a driver's license and I have no money in the bank. Yeah, so what do we do then? We just sucked it up, right? We just dealt with it. Mom might have been off, crazy, dad, whatever, and you're dealing with the situation. And what? We tell ourselves lies, we deflect, we avoid, we deny, I don't want to deal with this. We kind of get in in another world. Some of us might have, escaped as far as alcohol or drugs or whatever that looked like. But see, what happened is that a lot of times too, mom might have done X, Y, Z over and over again, but then there was breadcrumbing, right? Oh, maybe she bought you something, or maybe one day she gave you a hug in between her rants. Same thing for father, your dad, right? Maybe he was abusive, but then some days he was the nicest person you've ever known, and you go, oh, you could see the glimpse in you could see that there was like that piece of him, and you're like, wow, that's amazing. But see, that's the thing, is that we get these breadcrumbs back in these relationships now, and it reminds us, right? We go, but we don't know it. We don't connect the dots. We don't realize, wow, this is a big program. And I like to use the word programming. Some people don't like that word. I don't see what's wrong with that word. I mean, we are like, and I'm not trying to say we're all computers. That's not what I'm trying to say. But we do have we have a thing called our conscious and our subconscious. And our subconscious is a collection of everything that's happened in our life that's not at the forefront of our mind. So basically, our subconscious is our history, right? In hard drives, correct? And these hard drives, right, run our life. in the background. The hard drives are constantly running. The programs are constantly running in the background, just like your computer. You might be doing something on Word, writing a little document, but in the background, you have like the maintenance thing going. You got this going. You got your mail chat going. You got something else going. Okay, that's in the background, right? So everything that's happened to us that's on those hard drives are going on and spinning around. So when we have things like, for example, when we meet somebody and we're like, wow, I feel like I've known them forever, that can be a really great feeling, or that can be an indication that here we go into the same programming because it feels the same. This feels really normal for me. And I don't know about y'all, but some of that normal feeling, whew, yuck. When you start really examining it, it's like, yeah, normal sometimes isn't pretty. Okay, sometimes normal is the biggest dysfunction you've ever seen, but you're like, wow, this feels great. I think this person's my twin flame. If I hear the twin flame again, oh my gosh. Anyway, it is what it is. But, sometimes it's like, okay, we find people that have that same dysfunction. They have that same feeling. They bring that same programming. And guess what we do? We show up to the plate with our programming. We show up to what we've always used. Right? Because it's worked in the past, but we don't realize it. So how do we deal with this? How do we deal with this? Because other people have a tendency of getting angry. Some people get into rage. Some people don't know how to deal with their emotions. Some people are ready for a change. Some of us are ready for a change because we realize that we don't deserve this anymore. And that's when we begin to change. We have to understand, though, that we're ready for something new. We have to agree to that. We have to agree that we're ready for a new way of life. Without being ready for a new way of life, we can't change. And I know some people say, well, I have kids and I can't leave this marriage. And I understand you have children, but, there is a thing called co-parenting. And there is a thing called, divorce and co-parenting. And I know that some of you might be scared because you said, I don't know what my spouse is going to do because they're already out there, or they already push my buttons, or they're already this or that, or they don't see eye to eye. Well, I mean, you're just kicking the can down the road, unfortunately. And at least you had the children from it. At least something good came out of this experience. Besides the fact of the learning curve, right? Because we had to learn something. We had to learn some way. But it's kind of like once we open our eyes, we put in those, those truth eye drops, it's like it's hard to not see it. And one of the things that I want you to start doing, if you find yourself in one of these relationships, is that I want you to stop trying to prove yourself. And that's going to be one of the hardest things you ever do. Because you're so trained to do it. Right? You're so trained to do it that you're used to it. And so we got to sit there next time that their significant other says, no, I don't believe you. Okay, well, hey, I got to go take care of some stuff. I'll talk to you later. They're going to be like, whoa, come back here. No, I'll talk to you in a little while. I got nothing to say. You've already made up your mind. It's not my truth. I'll talk to you in a bit. We have to begin to just stop trying to defend ourselves. Because the defense doesn't help. It's not like you feel better after it. It's not like any of it even comes to reality. It's not even like they actually see the truth. So it's literally like talking into your blue in the face. Does that give us value? No. We could be doing other things. It's interesting too, when we stop defending ourselves, they already think what they want to think. Okay? But when we do defend ourselves, guess what? We validate their questioning. We validate their questioning. Oh, well, you know what? I knew there was something up. You know what I'm saying? If somebody believes something and you sit there and say, that's not true. That is not the truth. Okay, they're like, yeah. Because they already want to believe that. They already want to believe their version of reality. And so if you just stop adding to it, you're not abandoning them, but you're not going to stand there and listen to this conversation anymore. I mean, that's it. And we have to start doing that over and over again to practice. Practice makes perfect. I got to get you out of the training of trying to defend yourself. I have to be your defense against the dark arts coach. Because this is some dark arts. This is some bad stuff, right? I mean, the defense against the dark arts coach here, right? Little Harry Potter fun. Yeah, I mean, come on. It's Halloween coming up. I'm allowed to have a little Harry Potter jokes, right? Come on. Let's loosen up. But think about it. This is making you question yourself at the core. And this is leading to low self-esteem and self-worth. So we have to stop defending ourselves. When people question us, okay, that's the way you see it. That's not my truth. Okay, I'm fine. Well, you go on and tell me your truth. You know what? You don't deserve my truth. My truth is very apparent. I don't need to. I remember a long time ago, the show used to be on another network, and I'm not going to talk about that network at this time. But it used to be on another network, and I remember I was talking to somebody in the network, and they were like, they asked me if I believe in God, and I said, yeah, and they said, well, prove that your God exists, and I go, I don't have to prove anything to you. Why not? You need to prove to me. I don't prove anything to you. I don't care what you think. And it was interesting. It was a very eye-opening experience for that other person as they chased me down the hallway and tried to figure out why I wasn't going to prove this so that he could argue and find fault in everything I said. Why do I care? You go figure it out for yourself. The same thing applies in these relationships. We got to get to a point where we have enough emotional distance that we understand that we do not have to prove ourselves any longer. And if the other one wants you to keep proving yourself, just be like, hey, I'm done. We've done this. We've been doing this for the last 7 years, and I'm tired of it. This is getting boring. It's getting real boring. And I want you to start seeing how they respond. It's because the other thing that a lot of people like to do is they want to be tit for tat, right? Well, she's making me feel bad. I'm going to make her feel bad. Well, I get it. I know the resentment and anger. I understand. I get that. But no, we don't want to do that because that just puts us, it eventually makes us feel guilt and shame. We're working to do the right thing so we don't have guilt and shame, so that when we look back at all this, we know that we did right by ourselves and all concerned. And that means, I hate to use this, but taking the higher ground. It's not taking the higher ground. It's taking the mindful ground. Okay. It's living true to how we would live. It's living true that other people could see your actions and also applaud you for what you're doing instead of going, oh, that was dirty, but yeah, I see it. Right? Because when we get dirty on this and we play the game that they're playing on us, guess what? It all comes back to us again because they play that game a lot better than we do. Don't try to win on their game. Okay? Try to win on the truth. Win on the truth. Don't try to lose playing games, because that's what's happening here. So I want you to think about that. Stop defending yourself. Recognize, am I defending myself? What's going on? How is it going? Where are we at? And then when they try to get you to prove yourself, hey, I got it. We're good. I'm gonna go do whatever. I'm gonna go outside. I'm gonna go work out. I'm gonna take a walk. When you come back, if they're still on this, you're not off the subject yet. I've been off of it for over an hour. So, I don't know. But, you got to keep doing it. And you got to keep practicing it. Because once you stop defending yourself, all of a sudden the tables start turning. But this takes time and effort. Stopping to defend yourself, this needs to be consistent. From here on out, from this day forward, make the commitment with me that you're going to stop defending yourself, especially when you're in your truth. And you're going to live by that truth. You're going to live true, right? You're going to be a true lifer. Okay, stay tuned. We got more coming up for you. Live Your True Life Perspectives with your host, me, Ashley Burtis, will be back in. I'll be back just in a few seconds. I'll be back this time. 2 shakes.
I hope you've enjoyed my history and lore tales here on Ashley's True Life Show.
Hey guys, back here. I'm going to turn off the satellite feed again. I'm going to ask Chris how much time we have for spots. So I make sure I came back that last time a little late. We were in the middle of the intro music, so I apologize for that. But I'm glad I had to cut off our highs for a second because of didn't want to miss the feed. Okay, so we got about 2 minutes. Let's see here, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, by the way. Carmen, thank you. Let's see. I can understand any silent treatment. Caleb, I hear about boundaries a lot from my own therapist, but I feel like I never really get a definition of them. Yeah, I actually have a video out. Hey, George, do you mind putting that link about? It's I just put it out. It was on. Can you look at the videos we just published? Not the denial one, but something else. Let's see. If you tell me what the title is, we can look at that. Yeah, and I'll post that video. I love it. Speak about the dark arts. I love that, Caleb. That's awesome. Caleb, I think that I mentally jacked up because I gave so much to this person and get treated like crap. Okay, yeah, I get it. Well, we all go through this, Caleb. Carmen, thank you for your comments as well. We all go through this. We all go through this concept. We all go through these things. This is no.
Becoming solid and strong after toxic relationships.
Yeah, I think so. Let's go on and post that one. Yeah, because Caleb, I have a lot of stuff on boundaries. Boundaries are based on our values. Our values are direct. That's it. I mean, boundaries are not arbitrary. They're based on our values. Whatever I value is my boundaries. And you got to think about it. My values, I have 7 to 10 major values, right? One of mine is independent thought, independent action, independent of emotion. Right? I'm allowed to think how I think. I'm allowed to feel how I feel. And I'm allowed to do what I want to do. And if somebody, for example, if somebody makes fun of how I feel, that's a deal breaker. I mean, I'm not going around telling everybody how I feel all the time. Okay. But when I do, if I say, hey, I'm feeling this way, if you sit there and go, oh, that's crazy. What's wrong with you? That's a deal breaker. Well, what the heck is that about? Total disrespect. What about when somebody disrespects you and makes fun of you and you go, I don't really like that. It kind of feels bad. Why are you doing that to me? Oh, I'm just joking with you. I got to come back here. Hold on. We got 30 seconds.
Benefits you deserve.
No, wait, hold on. Here we go. 30 out. Okie dokie. I'm going to turn this on in 1 second.
4. That's 800-461-2114. Paid for by Senior Choice Plans.
This is Jake Busey, and you're listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess.
Welcome back live to Live Your True Life Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. We're at the end of our show today. At the end of the show, we have a few things to recap, because if you're in a relationship where you find yourself proving your value all the time and it's not understood and the other person doesn't get it, constantly proving your innocence, constantly proving who you are, you know what? Why? After a while, it's like, oh, for the love of God. It's painful. It's a struggle. It's uncool. It's unhealthy. It's unproductive. But it's a perfect storm for the programming that we have been inundated with, because we believe that if somebody else knows our value, then we're valuable, and that's the problem. We should be valuable even if we don't even know if anybody knows that we're valuable. And that's one of the hardest things that I think that many people ever learn in their entire life. And that's something that I help my clients do on a daily basis. And it takes some time to get there, but doggone it, when we get there, it is awesome. Most people don't even know, they can't even fathom where they came from. And that's why I ask people to always keep a journal so they can see how far they've come, because otherwise they wouldn't believe me. That's why I keep notes on every session to go back to the first session, and I'll bring it up and they'll be like, oh my gosh, gotta be kidding me. Can't believe I was there. It's because we've been allowing this in our life for so long. And so one of the things I want you to remember is that if you're dealing with one of these relationships, whether it's a marriage, romantic relationship, friendship, we have to stop proving ourselves today. Today is the last day of proving. Yesterday was the last day. 1 hour ago, 20 minutes ago was the last day. 20 minutes ago. I need you to think about this. You got to do it. You got to be consistent. You got to be like, oh my gosh, this hurts, but you're going to do it. You're going to be like, wow. And it's hard in the beginning. And it's hard to sit there and say, well, you know what? I got to go run an errand or whatever, or I don't agree with you, or whatever's happening, right? So we have to be consistent in that. We have to understand that. We have to also be like, okay, I don't need to defend myself. I don't need to go through this. I don't need to do this in my life. And I want you to realize, I don't want you to get angry. I want you to try to augment the argumentation and the anger and try to transmute that into a new way of life and seeing the mindful high ground. Okay? If you can see the mindful high ground, that's what I deal with. I have some clients right now that we're dealing with what? We're dealing with anger. We're dealing with rage. And it's like, let's not, when you get into a rage moment, we don't need to go fight with somebody, right? Because when somebody says something negative or nasty to us, the tendency is to, oh, you want to fight? You want to do this? You want to bring it on? No, 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 no. I get that. I understand that. But we have to change that programming. We don't need to fight them. We don't need to give in to them. When we give in to them, we're giving them strength over us. We're allowing them to control us. We're allowing them to take their power over us. I want you to think about that every single time. Every single time that you defend yourself to the other person, you are giving your power away. So guess what? I don't think they deserve your power. Do you? I think it's time to take our power back. So I want you to think about this because there's a lot more things to do, but you got to do this first before we can go any further. This is the first step, and this first step is the hardest. Okay, we got to stop doing the programming. We got to stop getting thrown into the arguments. We got to stop getting argumentative and fighting. We have to let it go, take a break, move on, do what we have to do. And guess what? Wow, I'm telling you, you do this for 2 weeks, you're going to feel different. And they're going to fight you on it because they're not used to this. They're going to try to get you into an argument. They're going to try to get you into a fight because they want that, because that's the energy that they want. That's what they want you to do. That's what they like. They like that energy. Don't give it to them. It's going to take some mindfulness. It's going to take some emotional stepping back. But I need you to see your truth, because the more that you realize your truth, the less that they can pull you in. The less they can pull you in, guess what? You're going to pull your energy back. You're going to start getting that power back. Guess what? You're going to start feeling better and better and better. We're going to start getting a solid self-esteem and we're going to start improving on ourselves, and we're going to start seeing that. Great show coming up for you next week. Stay tuned. We have a lot going on. If you haven't already, check out the website, ashleyburgess.com, ashleyberges.com. Go to YouTube. Just put in Ashley, Berges. New video content every week. Hope to see you next week. Thanks for tuning in. Live your true life perspectives with your host, me, Ashley Burgess, will be back in. I'll be back this time. 3 shakes.
It is interesting to see how the...
Hey, thank you, Chris. Everything. Thank you all for tuning in. I got a client here at 2 o'clock, so I have a couple minutes. So I'll go over a little bit, and then I have another client and another client. So unfortunately, I don't have as much time as I'd like to wrap up the show. Caleb, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you for tuning in. Anything I can do to help, just let me know. There's a lot of video content too. And you can always send me an email. Just go to ashleyburgess.com, click on that contact page. You'll just scroll down a little bit down and you'll just see it. You can fill it out. Just make sure you give me the right email address so that the email goes back to the proper email address. Lately, there's been a few folks that have sent some and I just can't send it back because the email address doesn't seem to go back. K Clock, thank you so much. It's great advice. When you're angry, we mostly hurt ourselves. It's so true. It's about knowing your own value and not allowing anyone to control you or undermine your confidence. Car, knowing yourself through introspection is very important. K Clock, or undermine. So true. Dan, thank you so much. Great show, Ashley. Thank you so much. I just want to reach out to everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. Caleb, Judy, everybody that ever tuned in, K Clock, Dan. It's just so great to have y'all here. Car, Carmen, everybody that tuned in, thank you so much, because it's all about, connecting here. It's all about us connecting, and being able to be in one else's life and really be able to connect and have that conversation. If you can think of anything else that you'd like me to talk about on maybe next week's show or on a video that you'd like me to talk about, I would love that. Jacqueline, thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate you. When we're in these types of relationships, we've got to start finding our truth, and we got to find our truth quick. Because each time we defend ourselves and each time we try to prove ourselves, we lose a little bit of ourselves, right? So we got to get that little bit back, and that little bit back. And guess what? Over time, those little bits that come all the way back creates this whole individual again. For the first time, we're completely independent. We feel good. We have that power, and that's where I'm getting you to. That's where I want to get you at. So anything I could do to help inspire that, create that, and it's all about walking through that and realizing that when we defend ourselves, when we get angry, we're actually, when we're playing into their hand, we're giving them power. Can't do that. So thank you all so much for tuning in. If you're just now tuning in, if you can watch the replay, that'll be great. We will have the podcast up ASAP. I think we still have to get last week's podcast up. We might need to get that up for last week. Yeah, let's do that. And then we'll get up this week, probably on Monday. Paxton, thank you so much for tuning in. How are you doing? Next week, talk about warning signs of people testing your boundaries. Yeah, that's a great idea. Can you write that down, George? Yeah, I can, and I can go through how people test you. You know what I mean? Because I'm telling you, once you start putting the kibosh down, they start shifting, right? Because they want to shift because they're trying to figure out where is the hole, where can they get in, how can they get to you? That's the game, right? I mean, that's what we're dealing with. This is the games that people play. It's the games that they play, right? Because they're good at it. Because it's like a game. If I can't get in that way, I'll get in that way. If I can't do that, I'll do that. If I can't get them by them defending themselves, and I got to figure out, then I'm going to get angry. Okay, no. And then I'm going to scare them and tell them that I'm going to go after them or hurt them or do whatever. Oh, that didn't work anymore. Oh, wait. Then I'm going to be nice. Oh, wait. Then I'm going to be coy. Now I'm going to get the silent treatment. Oh, yeah. I got a lot for you. Write that down if you don't mind, George. Topic suggestions, attachment styles, and romantic relationships. Can you write that one down too? Yeah. Okay, great. We're going to write that one down too. And if y'all have any other ideas, I really appreciate it. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. I mean, that's what it's all about. We're going to write those down. We're going to take those into consideration. I think those are both very good. And maybe we can merge them to some degree or just do 2 separate shows. Okay. I got to jump into sessions on a Saturday. I am dedicated. By the way, we have a new site coming up very soon. We have a new site. It's going to be on the ashleyburgess.com site, members only. So, and it's going to be really cool. And just to be a member, all you have to do eventually, and we'll tell you when it comes live. And just to start being a member, all you have to do is like sign in with your real name and an email address. So, it's not a big entry, but we just want to get a family group around. We love YouTube and it's awesome, but we also want to have a family group around too, where we can communicate with one another and stuff like that too. So, it's going to be a little grassrootsy thing, and by the way, it's going to be our true lifers. So we're going to be true life in it here, and want to have y'all be a part of it. I think it'll be interesting. So I'd love to have y'all's involvement. If you already have too, you can join the YouTube channel. We have some private content on that if you want to join. Otherwise, all the content's great. You don't have to join. But if you do, there's other content there. It doesn't really matter. The content's good no matter what, I hope. And we have some new videos coming out. Just put out a couple of videos on Thursday and Friday. Got some new videos coming out this week. And so let me know if y'all have any content ideas. Cheryl, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Chris Early, great to see you. How are you doing? Totally is true. Communication is key. Susie, yeah, that's true. That is one that they do. That happens, and then it's like come home in a couple of days, or they play that game, and that's part of that programming as well. And I totally get you. And that's definitely part of it. Cara, take care. Cara, thank you so much. Take care, all, and thank you so much. See, that's the kind of thing. That's what take care, all. I love that. We're here as a community. We're a group. We're merging. We're growing. We're becoming more powerful in ourselves, and we're becoming more powerful, and we're creating a dynamic and a community that does the same. I care about y'all much. Have a great, great weekend, and be safe. Happy Halloween, by the way. I don't think I'm going to be doing anything this year. I don't know if y'all are, but I don't know. I don't think I'm going to do much this year, but I don't know. I'm not feeling it this year. Not that we don't have to feel it. I'm just, I didn't do anything last year either, but I don't know. Well, I might live vicariously through George. I'll see if he's going to do anything, but I think Buddy and I are chilling. Buddy is asleep on the couch, by the way. So I'm going to get into these sessions. I wish I could stay longer. Have a great day. Care about y'all. I want the best for y'all in everybody's life. And if you want to reach out to me, just go to ashleyburgess.com, click on that contact page, send me a message, and I will respond back ASAP because I want to and I care. Take care, guys. Don't forget to live your true life.